Christina and Jill, and we are going to show you how to make some Indian dishes in a whole food plant-based manner. We are going to make a potato and spinach curry, a chickpea tikka masala, and some naan bread. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we're also going to make some basmati rice, and we're actually going to get started on that first. So I just have a cup of rice here. I'm going to pour it into this strainer, and then I'm going to rinse it until the water runs clear, and then I'm going to put it into my bowl, and I'm going to soak it for at least 15 minutes. This is going to help take all of the excess starch off of the grains of rice, and it'll give you that nice rice that's not just stuck and clumped together. So I'm going to go and get started on that. Okay, so to get started on our naan, I have 1 2/3 cups of like a warm to warm hot water. I'm going to do half of a tablespoon of quick rise yeast. And then I'm going to do a tablespoon of maple syrup. And then we're just going to mix all of that together and let it proof. It'll take about 5 minutes, and whenever it's done, it'll be thick and foamy at the top. So just mix all that up. You want to make sure that your water isn't too hot and it isn't too cold. You want it just the right temperature for the yeast. Okay, I'm going to put that to the side for 5 minutes.
Okay, and as we're waiting, we're going to go ahead and chop some of our vegetables for our other recipes. So we need an onion for our tikka masala, and then we also need 1 onion for our curry. The tomatoes will be for our curry, and then we'll go ahead and dice some potatoes for the curry as well.
Potatoes into about 1/2-inch cubes, and then the onions we're just going to do a rough chop on.
Okay, so we have our tomatoes chopped, our onion chopped, and our potatoes. I'm going to go ahead and mince this ginger because we're going to need that for our other 2 recipes as well.
And then I am going to get the naan going. I don't know if you can tell, probably not. I don't want to dump this too much, but the yeast is frothy at top. So I'm going to go ahead and add that into my bowl. And I am going to do 5 1/4 cups of whole wheat flour. I don't think I'm going to have quite enough, so if not, I'm just going to supplement with a little bit of all-purpose flour. I am also going to do 1/2 of a tablespoon of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 1/2 of a cup of applesauce, and 2 tablespoons of a plant-based yogurt. I have one somewhere.
Right here.
Oh, right here. I'm just using the So Delicious coconut milk yogurt. You can use any kind of yogurt though. They've got almond yogurt, soy milk yogurt, cashew milk yogurt. There's all different options. So I'm just going to mix this all in my bowl, and then I'm going to put it on my KitchenAid mixer. You can hand mix it if you want. I'm going to let it run for about 5 minutes though.
I'm just getting this ginger nice and peeled.
And these dishes that we're making today, we are using different vegetables in them. Like for the tikka masala, I got some green beans to throw in there just for some added green vegetables. You can really throw anything that you have in your refrigerator into the curries. This is a good meal to make on the weekend whenever you're wanting to use up your groceries. Okay, so now that I have everything in the bowl, I'm just going to put it on on my KitchenAid mixer with the dough attachment and let it go for about 5 minutes.
And I'm just mincing away this ginger. Gotta get it nice and fine.
Okay, and so now our rice has soaked for long enough, so I'm going to put it back through the strainer and rinse it one more time, and then I'm gonna just put it into my rice cooker.
You don't need a rice cooker, but I will say my rice cooker is one of my favorite things in my kitchen because it just makes, I don't know, the thinking taken out of cooking my rice. I just know I add the water, add the rice, and it cooks it and tells me when it's done. I don't have to keep checking on it and make sure I'm not overdoing it or undercooking it. And it's really reasonable too.
And so I had 1 cup of uncooked rice, so I'm gonna add 2 cups of water. I'm just doing water today, but you can also cook it with vegetable broth to make it a little bit more flavorful depending on the dish that you're gonna use it in. Okay, so now my dough is done. It just looks like this. It's elastic, but kind of soft, a little sticky. I'm gonna cover it and I am going to let it rise. You wanna let it rise in a warm spot. So what I do is I just preheat my oven to the lowest temperature and then I open it for a little while and let it cool off. And then I cover my dough and then stick it in the oven and let it sit there for the next hour. Just don't forget that you have it in there and start cooking something else. But so we'll let this sit for an hour. It'll probably double in size. And this is gonna make quite a bit of naan. And if you don't need that much, you can always freeze the dough balls and they'll last and they'll work really well. So we'll go ahead and cover this.
And this is a good trick, especially when it's cold outside. In the summer, you might not have to use the oven just because it's gonna be warmer in your house. But definitely in the middle of the winter, you'll wanna use the oven, or else you'll be waiting a long time. We're going to go ahead and work on our spinach and potato curry. So we already have our potatoes diced. We've got our tomatoes diced. We've got our garlic, or our ginger, I'm sorry. We're going to have spinach, and we're actually going to use kale as well. Just to give a variety of those greens, get all those good nutrients from all that. And then we're going to use some minced garlic. And then we'll need some ground coriander, turmeric, and then garam masala. So we'll go ahead and get those items together and get this started. Ready? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start on our potato and spinach curry. I've got some cumin seeds that we're going to go ahead and kind of toast them in our pot to start. And then we will add a tablespoon of water in just a minute. Jill's gonna get our turmeric and our coriander together as these are toasting. We went ahead and used the microwave to boil our potatoes. You could do it, of course, on the stove or however you want to do it. We just did it for the sake of time. Which we are big fans of time saver things. Let me actually make sure those are. Might put them in just a little bit longer. They could be a little bit softer. And then once we add that water, we're going to go ahead and add our onion, our garlic, and our ginger.
Can we put it in there for you?
Yeah. Alright, and with our onion, I'm going to go ahead and toss in the garlic and the ginger we have prepared here. let this kind of saute a little bit, and then we will add the coriander and the turmeric. Want to get our onion nice and brown. And we do not need to use oil, of course, we just use the water. If we feel like our onion's starting to burn, or the ginger or the garlic is starting to burn, we can always add a little bit more water.
While she's working on that, I'm just going to be over here cutting up various vegetables for the tikka masala. Today we are going to use green beans and red bell peppers, so I'm just going to get those chopped.
I do have our stove on medium-high heat. Starting to smell those aromas. Check on these potatoes again. Ooh-wee. Just stirring it around, make sure we're getting it nice and cooked. Next we're going to add those spices, the turmeric and the coriander, and then our tomatoes as well. Just want to get this cooked down a little bit longer. Our onions are almost there. Alrighty. I'm going to go ahead and put those spices in. You can smell that turmeric. Toss our tomatoes in. You could always use canned diced tomatoes as well. You just want to look for those low sodium options. So we're going to let this cook down a little bit. We want the tomatoes to get kind of like a more saucy texture. And we did finely chop those tomatoes so that they were, you know, it'll have a nice texture. We are going to use an immersion blender here in a little bit as well though, but this just kind of gets that sauce started for our curry. And then we will start adding our spinach and our kale. If you're not a fan of kale, you do not have to use kale. And you can always use frozen spinach or frozen kale or fresh, however you want to do it. Whatever you have on hand, whatever makes it easier. This is really starting to bubble up, get a nice texture.
As soon as you said bubble up, the rice started boiling over.
Oh wow. I'm psychic.
Wow. And then I'm just over here prepping things for the tikka masala. I'm going to go ahead and rinse our can of garbanzo beans. Just get all of the liquid off of that. And then I'm going to go ahead and dump my spices into a bowl so it's easy for us to just toast them up in our pan.
Our mixture is good, and now we're going to go ahead and start adding our spinach in, kind of a handful at a time. We want to let the leaves get kind of wilty, and then we'll start adding some more in. And if you've cooked with spinach before, you know that it cooks down quite a bit, so you might have a big bag here and it doesn't take up much room in your pot at all. We're going to go ahead and show you kind of what our mixture looks like with that spinach in there. So you can kind of see what the onions and the tomatoes and our spices look like, in the garlic and ginger. So see how nice and wilty that spinach is getting. I don't know if wilty is the correct term, but I like it. Go ahead and use our kale here. Just gonna dump it in. Okay. We're gonna mix this all around and let it cook for a little bit, and then we'll add our potatoes. And then we're just gonna let that simmer for a couple, 5-10 minutes, and then it's ready to serve. Actually, I think I got ahead of myself. We are gonna use our immersion blender in just a minute to give this more of a creamy texture. Did you forget the potatoes? No, we're gonna add those last. I'm gonna go ahead and turn our heat down a little bit to medium. Jill's getting our immersion blender ready. All right, that's nice and cooked down, our kale and our spinach. So we're gonna go ahead and use the immersion blender. If you wanna go, we'll go ahead and show you what it looks like before. And then we're gonna go ahead and put our blender in here. Maybe, oh, there it goes. You wanna get a creamier texture with it. And now we are gonna add our potatoes and our garam masala spice. Okay, we'll go ahead and dump the potatoes in. And let me see where that spice is. Oh, sorry, I think I put it back in the drawer. No, you're okay. Actually, I think I see it right there.
Oh, I didn't put it in the drawer.
And we'll need a half a teaspoon if you have that. Can't hurt. To just freehand it, so. Alrighty, so we'll just stir this up. We'll let it simmer. I'm gonna turn it down to low. Let it simmer, and we'll go ahead and start on our tikka masala. And then we'll show you the final product.
Okay, so now I'm gonna get started on the tikka masala. So I just have my pan heating up on medium heat, and I'm gonna add in 1 chopped onion. It's just roughly chopped. And I am going to add in 8 cloves of garlic and 2 tablespoons of chopped ginger.
One thing I love about Indian food is they are heavy on the spice.
We know that's my favorite. I don't like to measure my spice. I just like to dump it in. Okay, so I'm just gonna saute that up, and then once my onion's getting soft, I'm going to add my spice mixture, and I'll go ahead and go over everything in there. Let me get my list so I don't forget any of it. I have a tablespoon of ground cumin, a tablespoon of turmeric, a tablespoon of ground coriander, a tablespoon of paprika, a tablespoon of chili powder, a tablespoon of curry powder, a tablespoon of garam masala, and that is it. Did I say paprika?
I think so.
Yeah, so that's it. So once my onion is getting nice and soft, I'm just going to dump all that in and then toast the spices.
While Jill's doing that, I'm going to open some of our canned goods that we're going to use.
So you're going to use canned tomato paste and canned tomato sauce. We suggest that you get the low sodium or no salt versions. I was limited on what I could get because the grocery store was still restocking from the snowstorm. But just make sure that you are watching your sodium on your canned tomato products. Okay, so now that my onion is getting translucent, I'm just gonna dump in all of my spices and cook them for a few minutes and toast them. Okay, so now that my spices are toasted, I'm just gonna go ahead and add in my chopped vegetables. So I'm gonna add in my red pepper, my green beans, and I'll add in some chickpeas as well. And I'm just gonna give that a good mix. Okay, and now I'm gonna dump in 2 cans of tomato sauce, 2 15-ounce cans. About 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. And about a cup of water.
Okay.
And then I'm just gonna mix that all together, and then I'm gonna bring it to a light boil and cover it and turn my heat down to low and let it simmer until my vegetables are cooked.
Look at all those veggies.
Add a little bit more water. Okay, now I'm just gonna cover it and let it simmer until my vegetables are soft.
Maybe we should check on our dough, see how it looks. Oh, it still looks like we need more time.
Not quite risen enough yet. Okay, so now that our naan is done rising, I just took the dough and I just took a piece probably, I don't know, in between the size of a tennis ball and a golf ball. I know it's a big size difference, but somewhere in between there. And you just want to take the piece and just kind of knead it. You can make a little oblong shape. You can kind of do a circle. It's not anything too specific. And so then you want to take a hot pan and then just put your bread in there and you're going to brown it up. And it usually cooks in about 2 to 3 minutes per side. Cast iron is best. But I'm just using regular pan right now because I didn't feel like getting out my cast iron skillet. You can also cook it on the grill as well, and that's a nice way to do a lot of them at once because this is going to take a while to cook because my pan will only hold one at a time. Okay, so now our tikka masala is done. Our vegetables are nice and soft. I kept the green beans so that they have a little bit of a bite to them. And so now I'm going to go ahead and put in my coconut milk. Ideally, you want to use a light coconut milk so that it's lower in fat, but I was limited in my selection today. They only had regular coconut milk, so that's what I had to grab. Christina's opening that for me.
All right, and this is important too that you don't get, just your coconut milk that you would find as your milk substitute. Yeah, you want to get one of the canned ones.
So I'm going to pour in about 3/4 of the can.
It's going to have more of a creamier texture.
I'm just going to mix that up. I'm going to bring the camera over here so that you can kind of see the color of it. It's nice and liquidy. It's perfect for the naan. Then we've got all of our peppers and beans in there.
And our naan's over there cooking.
Yes. So we will get all of this plated up and we'll show it to you all completed. Okay, here is what the finished product looks like. We have our naan, we have our spinach and potato curry, and then we have our tikka masala over some basmati rice.
Alrighty, well I hope you guys enjoyed our cooking demo over our Indian dishes. As always, please reach out to us with any questions and look for our Thursday videos. If you ever need to get a hold of us, remember our phone number is 221-LIFE.
And then just to add in, we have another cohort of our weight loss program starting soon. Once we have the actual date, we will let you guys know, but just know that if you're interested in that, you can call 221-LIFE and you get connected with me or Christina and we can get you more information. Thank you guys. See you soon.
Bye.